been two leaders of the PruTour, and they both share the same room. Chris Boardman passed over his red jersey to Stuart O'Grady, and for the two riders on the French GAN team, there was certainly no bad feelings. In fact, it was a plan spawned earlier on the North Yorkshire moors, where Chris told Stuart the time had come to lead this major international race. The only stipulation was that O'Grady had to win the stage, and the ex-Olympic and world champion Aussie did just that. Chris Boardman is now 13 seconds behind, while US Postal's Brownowski is third. Well, O'Grady may be 12,000 miles from home, but it doesn't feel like it here.
It's pretty cool, you know, we can even watch the TV afterwards, so it makes a big difference, you know, and so far it's been an awesome tour, and, you know, I think it's just going to get bigger and better.
So to stage 3, it begins in Manchester, host to the Commonwealth Games in 2002 and gateway to the Pennines for the PruTour. There are 3 climbs, including Home Moss and the Trough of Bowland, on the 187 kilometres route to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, with its famous tower visible as the riders speed away from the mountains and towards the Golden Mile. It is the place to see and enjoy. And if you're in any doubt as to where the finishing line is, well, this is the Big Dipper of Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and it overlooks the finish. And I'm not sure I want to do this. Help! Well, they call it work. The official start today outside the National Cycling Centre in Manchester, and the riders will very shortly be on the lower slopes of Home Moss, and it's raining, Paul.
Certainly these are not ideal racing conditions. The riders won't like it because showers are expected for most of the day, a temperature just 15 degrees Celsius, and over Home Moss the clouds are very low.
3 kilometres into the race, 5 riders go out on the attack. Jens Voigt is there as the guard dog again for the French GAN team. At 10 kilometres, a puncture to one of those riders, Max Nielsen of Denmark, would never see them again. On to 30 kilometres, the climb of Home Moss, and the weather was getting worse.
It certainly was. The clouds were coming down, making it very difficult, but still, the man at the front in the polka dot jersey as King of the Mountains would lead them over the top. Jonathan Vaughters taking maximum points over the summit.
So 12 points for him. Jens Voigt was second, Mark Walsham third, and Guillaume Auger was fourth. The main field were tracking them 1 minute 10 seconds behind, and they were taking it very carefully indeed.
After 42 kilometres and a daredevil descent, number 173, Andrea Palouan, joined the leaders, making 5 men once again at the head of affairs.
At 46 kilometres, the riders are in Huddersfield, and the special sprint for the small-time bonuses. Jens Voigt, the leader in this competition, was leaving nothing to chance. He was clear, he got the small bonuses and the points. Mark Walsham was second, Andrea Palouan was third. At 92 kilometres, when the race seemed settled, the leaders went the right way, but the main field made a wrong turn. Somebody had taken an arrow away, and the main field did not know which way to go. They chose the wrong one. The riders slowed right down, awaiting direction now from the officials and the police following the race, while up front the 4 leaders were gaining time, big time. Riders now were asking the question, which way was it back to the road? Well, one man who knew what happened was the Commissaire, Chris Naylor. He was on the motorbike, he'd seen it all.
It appears that somebody has removed the direction arrows prior to our arrival, and then of course with the speed, people come in, they didn't know which way to go, so it's a general mistake with spectators probably removing the arrows between the leaders and the peloton, with the gap being at 5 minutes.
You're going to have to either stop the result of the stage, restart it when everybody's regrouped somewhere. But let's get on the right road first.
Chris Boardman seemed to have the right idea. Up front, the race referee with the leaders had them going slowly. But back in the main field, well, they were trying to discover now exactly where they were on the course.
So where are we at the moment then?
We're just miles away. We're up here somewhere. We've come up this way. We need to get back and then turn right again.
The brake's gone back over Home Moss again. I'm not complaining though, I'm happy. Positive attitude.
The riders seemingly in happy mood. And even the race leader, Stuart O'Grady, was just concerned with staying warm and waiting for a decision. Well, the leaders of sorts were continuing to race. They were now at the top of Waddington Fell, and again Jonathan Vaughters was stacking up the points in the King of the Mountains competition.
The race referees had decided at that point to let them sprint it out because this is an important competition, and for Jonathan Vaughters another 12 points. But discussions still going on with the race referees exactly how to get the riders back on course.
Under escort by both the police and the officials, the riders were now being led back to the race route proper. And nobody was showing any animosity at all. A little bit of curiosity, perhaps. But if you need any help, well, ask a policeman.
Are we on the right road now? Yeah, we'll take you down towards Padiham, and then you want to be going towards Clitheroe. It's signposted from there, okay?
So it wasn't long before the race was back on course, while further ahead on the open highway, the police had put up a roadblock. The leaders now had been stopped officially. They would now have to wait until they could reorganise the race start on the road. Jens Voigt didn't look too worried, and neither did the rest of the men. Back in the main field, Neil Stevens on the far right was having a chat. Chris Bourne was explaining to his teammates that the leaders had stopped up front. And at least the leaders, who have been in the lead for most of the day, seem to understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fair enough. I mean, not only because my team has the jersey, it's, you know, it's just unfair. They take a long way, we take 35 minutes.
God. I understand they're doing this in the fairness of the race, and I think it should be done.
Was there an argument or a difference of opinion between you and the other riders? Because we were told that you were being asked to stop, and you obviously were still rolling along, although not with great conviction.
No, we were just taking it as easy as we could.
Right.
So Jonathan Vaughters there, the leader of the King of the Mountains. Meanwhile, back at Waddington Fell, 39 minutes had passed by as the main field come over the ridge. So they've been off course for the best part of half an hour. Now onto the top of Bowland, the race was about to resume. The leaders now were still climbing steadily on what was the final climb of the day. The main field now stopped to re-establish the situation, and they were going to be released with an estimated time gap of 6 minutes, Paul.
Exactly, that was the time gap when the confusion started, 5 minutes and 45 seconds to be exact. And now what they had to do was get themselves organised, but it was going to be a lot harder for the 5 men in the front because they had been stopped for 30 minutes at the side of the road.
And onto the climb now. The leaders had lost just a few seconds of that 6 minute restart, but they were still well ahead. This the last climb of the day. Jonathan Vaughters trying to make a hat-trick of wins. It looked as though Jens Voigt was in a little bit of trouble at the back, and certainly the man in yellow, Mark Walsham, wasn't enjoying the climb of the Trough either.
He certainly wasn't. The man setting the pace at the front, in fact, Andrea Palawan, the man who'd gone very quickly down the descent of Home Moss, putting a lot of riders under pressure, and you can see just how hard it was for Mark Walsham, wearing number 61 at the back.
A huge crowd, which had waited approximately 1 hour longer than they had anticipated, saw Jonathan Vaughters track up Palawan on the top of the climb. Jens Voigt wrestled and fought his way back into the picture. As Palawan set the pace, Vaughters was waiting for the chance to pounce.
He certainly was. For him, it was a good opportunity to try and get, again, maximum points out on the course and try and consolidate his lead in the King of the Mountains competition. But always attentive, the man in the purple jersey, Jens Voigt, who's been on the attack 2 days in a row.
Well, Voigt has been rewarded with the lead in the sprint competition, and Jonathan Vaughters was holding off as long as he could before he hoped he would take out the last points of the day. Still struggling to hold contact there was Guillaume Auger, who's the brother, by the way, of the rider in the breakaway yesterday.
It certainly was, and you can see the pressure that was put on at the front by Andrea Palawan, trying to get themselves hot, trying to get themselves back up to speed again, because they knew now that with the restart of the race, the main field would come up very quickly. Over the top of the climb, no problem for Jonathan Vaughters, maximum points once again.
Palawan going through in second, Jens Voigt in third, and Auger in fourth. Overall now, a 22-point lead for Vaughters over Jens Voigt, Chris Walker in third place. There's the main field. They are still over 5 minutes behind, but they haven't given up hope yet. And welcome back to the third stage of the PruTour. Blackpool Tower is now ready and waiting for the arrival of the race. They are back on course and the leaders are still the same, entertaining the big crowd down on the pleasure beach, the Red Devils from the Army. It's a long way down. Red fleurs, and in fact, Paul, they're bringing the coloured jerseys of all of the race leaders with them.
Certainly a different way to bring the race leaders' jerseys down to the finish line here in Blackpool, but these men certainly know what they're looking for, and they're looking for a very good landing.
And you can't do much better than this. Absolutely on target, and there they are on the podium with all of the leaders' jerseys of the various competitions. Now all we need is to bring the race home. There's a tremendous carnival atmosphere here on the Golden Mile, and everybody is ready now to welcome the PruTour in. Well, these are the 5 riders who have shaped this race almost from the opening mile, and they're still hanging on to a lot of their advantage here. Just around about 40 kilometres from the finish as they race off the mountains now, away from the Trough of Bowland. Flat roads all the way, Paul. They've got a chance.
A slight chance, but you know, Phil, there's starting to be a little bit of discontent amongst these riders at the front. The man in the purple jersey, Jens Voigt, he's the teammate of the overall leader, Stuart O'Grady. He hasn't been working too much for the last few kilometres, and you can see disorganisation starting to reign.
And an attack by Andrea Palouin, who's trying to get away. And he's putting in an attack here for the Mobile Vetta team. This was the Italian team that came in literally at the 11th hour when they failed to secure a place in the Tour of Italy. They were grateful to come over to the PruTour, and I must say they've appeared in the thick of the action almost every day. So he's trying to liven things up, but you see Jens Voigt, who is still playing what we call the ticket collector for Chris Boardman in the main field and Stuart O'Grady. Now, down to 3:15, so they've knocked off the best part of 3 minutes. There's still time for this lot to come back.
There certainly is. Speed very high indeed. Organisation at the front is coming from the Festina squad and the Bright Voice team. Look at the clock there, 58 kilometres an hour. That's almost 40 miles an hour in the main field. So that gap, which was 3 minutes and 15 seconds, is going to tumble very quickly on the roads into Blackpool.
And meanwhile, back at the front here, they will just not help Jens Voigt at all. And Voigt has watched now Guillaume Auger slip away. He looks at the others and says, well, he's gone. What are you going to do about it? And it looks like the answer is nothing. This man is taking his chance.
A good chance for him, a young professional, first time riding as a professional rider, Guillaume Auger. His brother was on the attack yesterday, and now this is the only thing he could do, because in that group of 5 riders, nobody really wanted to work, and to try and get to the finish, everybody needed to work together, and he's got the gap. But Phil, behind, the main field really is starting to come back quickly.
Well, this is the finishing line down on the promenade here on the pleasure beach just beneath the tower. It's a sprinter's delight, Paul, if they catch him. It's a long straight road, but he's gone clear at the moment. Well, his brother yesterday featured in the breakaway over Rosedale Chimney and then managed to hang on to take 3rd place in the sprint. He's trying to go 2 places better.
He's trying to see if he can, but it's a very difficult run-in for a rider, because the wind now starting to come off the sea, and the group of 4 riders that he's left behind him now, led here by Jonathan Vortis, are just getting picked up by the main field. So it's all back together, bar one man still leading the race.
Well, it shows what happens when you're not coordinated at the front and the field has swept them up. I hope they did a head count, because there's 1 rider still away. I have to say it's great to see the Bright Voice team here, the British-based professional team, doing a lot of work.
Keeping it very high, because they want to pull it all back together. They feel that their man Chris Walker has got a great chance in the sprint if they can just pull back the leader, and he's actually kept a very good margin over the rest of the field, 1 minute 15 seconds, but you know, it's still an awful long way to go.
And his legs are heavy now. He's having to push a huge gear here. Don't forget, he was left standing in the road for the best part of half an hour earlier. His muscles were getting cold while they got the race reorganised. Now he's running into the finish with that lead of some 75 seconds. But they are very determined here. The boys in white, the Bright Voice team, have a good sprinter on the team in riders like Chris Walker. And of course the Festina have an excellent sprinter there in a rider like Andre Korf, who finished 2nd when Chris Boardman won the stage in Newcastle.
Certainly, that's why you've got these 2 teams riding together. Look at the face on John Clay here. All he's thinking about is staying right on the wheel of the man in front, his own teammate. This is Matt Illingworth. They're keeping the speed high. They know that they've got a great chance of pulling back the lone leader. Just 5 kilometres remaining, about 7 minutes of racing.
And I wonder if Auger here knows that the tower of Blackpool on his right shoulder is not far away from the finishing line. To my knowledge, he's never been here before. and he's still trying to keep those aching legs turning. We can't quite see over the back of the following cars how close they are, but they must be closing him down because they are going just that little bit quicker. And professionals have this nasty habit of timing their attacks to perfection.
They certainly do. Professional teams work it out really very closely down to the last kilometre, and that I think is what's going to happen, because you can see now the cars are starting to be moved out of the gap. That tells us now, and it also tells Ogier that the gap is coming down well below the 1 minute mark.
Yes, Ogier realised that because he looked over his shoulder. He knows now it might only be 30 seconds. Well, it's better than that. It's 45 seconds. He could still hold on here. Once he gets off this main road running into Blackpool, he'll be dodging around the back streets before he finds the approach down to the Pleasure Beach finish.
But he was having a hard time there. He's constantly getting out of the saddle, and still in the main field the speed is high, 59 kilometres an hour, so it's still right up there.
Well, they picked up a tailwind here, I think, because that is a very fast speed indeed. There is Stuart O'Grady, happily ensconced in the main field. He should conserve that lead tonight now. 4 kilometres to go, but that is not the sight he wants to see, a long, straight, empty road, because they will see him.
They certainly will. This is a very straight road into Blackpool now. 30 seconds the gap. It's coming down in big chunks of 15 seconds at a time. His team manager comes up alongside here, probably for the last time, because he too will be forced to move out of the gap so that the race can be run in at very safe conditions on the road down into Manchester, but into Blackpool. But you can see here everybody now queuing up behind the two teams at the front who are sorting out the sprint for their leaders, and it's going to be a very tricky one.
Well, the big pack have their tails up now, and I think the bridge is not far off being made. You've got to feel a little bit sorry for Ogier, because he was out in front today for almost the entire day, and he is now about to be wrapped up here. His lead is coming down very rapidly. It's the white jerseys of the British Bright Voice team now are closing it down, and they are hoping now they are setting this race up for Chris Walker to win the stage.
John Tanner up at the front there. A lot of work being done by number 51, John Clay. Really, Clay, one of the top riders here, acting as the team captain and encouraging the other riders on Bright Voice to lift it just a little bit, because they know they have to pull this man back before the finish. And now, Phil, Ogier, you can see this is the sign of a man who's very tired indeed. He's been out of the front of this race for almost the whole of the 116-mile event, and he's starting to roll his shoulders, and very soon it's all going to be over.
He's riding straight towards the Blackpool Tower now, and if he looks over his shoulder, he'll get the sight he doesn't want to see. He knows it's all over. He's sat up. Well, it's been a terrific escape by Ogier today, and it's sad it hasn't worked, but work it has not. There's the whole field together, and it looks as though we are going to see, for the first time in the PruTour now, a big sprint finish.
Certainly a lot of good sprinters in there. The Festina riders riding very close to the front for Andrea Korf. Chris Walker not far away either, but also the GAN men starting to organise themselves, because Stuart O'Grady, the leader, has proved to be one of the fastest sprinters in the event so far. Festina man on the right-hand side, he's done his job. He'll sit up and swing to the back, but it looks as if they've lost a few places there, because they're back in 9th and 10th place.
Well, still the Bright Boys, and that's a good name for them, isn't it, from Great Britain, sitting on the front. They've now got a little bit of crack down in the centre of the big peloton. This is the left turn. We're now onto the Golden Mile and heading up towards the Big Dipper, and I know all about that as the race comes up now towards the line. Now, this will be a terrific sprint here. John Clay and Matt Illingworth are leading out. They hope Chris Walker, there he is, in 4th place. And also, not too far away, is the mauve jersey of Jens Voigt. He's looking to pick up now the red jersey of Stuart O'Grady, who's also there.
Well, there's the red jersey of O'Grady in about 8th place there. There's the 1 kilometre banner. Now Johnny Clay really has to bury himself. This is an ideal finish for the sprinters. It's a straight road. You can't make any mistakes, and you've got room to manoeuvre and get into the ideal position to unleash that sprint.
Well, this is a fine piece of pace-making here by Matt Illingworth. He's going to hold them as long as he can, but it takes a bit of holding now as the rush is coming on the left. The big map boys are making a run. Now, they also have a top sprinter on this event, Jay Sweek from Australia. Neil Stevens on the right of our picture is trying to lead out his big teammate, Andre Korf of Germany on the Festina squad. Over on the left of our picture now, the GAN team are making a run as well. They are thinking of the red jersey now of Stuart O'Grady, because if he snatches a time bonus here, he will increase his overall lead. So it's the Aussie from Festina now, Stephen, who's got the lead here. He's making the run for line very, very early. Look at Stuart O'Grady in that red on the right, and that is Magnus Backstead in the white jersey on the left for GAN. Now we're opening for the line, and Jay Sweet has appeared. Jay Sweet for Big Matt has appeared just on the back wheel there of Backstead. Baxter is coming up again now. Sweet is kicking hard. Jay Sweet is coming up to the line. Sweet will take it. Baxter second, and I think Stuart O'Grady got third place right on the line. That was a tremendous result if he did. So O'Grady was there, I am sure. The whole of the field come home together. Boardman was safe there as well. And it really did turn out to be a battle royal here. The man in white dashing up by the crowd there was Magnus Bagstead of Chris Boorman's GAN team, but Jay Sweet swiftly jumped onto his wheel, just took a few deep breaths and then popped out from behind him. And as he came up to the line, well, it wasn't really anything but a perfect effort, was it? The first victory of '98 for Jay Sweet. All of the riders at the same time behind him here. O'Grady did get third, a bonus for him there. Hincapie finished in fourth place. The names in the breakaway, well, there they all are, down the bottom in the last 5 places of the result here.
It looked a bit hairy the last 200 or 300 metres there. People seem to be going all over the place.
Yeah, it was sort of like no one really wanted to take the pace at the last minute. You know, everyone sort of balked. A lot of sprinters were left up there and no one wanted to make it go. And then Neil Stevens with Festina, he took Andre Korf, and then I think Magnus just springboarded off from that, probably 200 to go.
Nice to get a good win under your belt.
First time for this year. I've been waiting for it for a while, you know. Had a few close calls so far this year, and, you know, I was starting to get a bit edgy, thinking, you know, what's going on, why aren't I winning? And it feels great now, big weight off your shoulders.
And this is the overall situation. Now O'Grady's increased his lead to 17 seconds over Boardman, but there's no basic change in the overall leaderboard today. Tyler Hamilton is 7th. On the presentation now, the mauve jersey on the shoulders of Jens Voigt, the red on the shoulders of O'Grady, the green of points on the shoulders of Chris Boorman. They're all members of the GAN team. Overall, there they are, all the GANs doing so well despite the problems today. The King of the Mountains, Jonathan Voigters of the US Postal. But this was the story of the day, when all of the riders behind the breakaway missed an arrow. It appeared to have been stolen, and they went the wrong way. Confusion reigned for a while, but it was soon put right. Well, going off the route in international bike races is certainly not unprecedented. But what is strange is the riders making a point to everybody. They don't want the organisation blamed. They feel they were not at fault. They say this is a great bike race, and that's what they want to do, get on with it. Well, now they can move on to stage number 4. They now go back across the mountains, this time the Peak District, as they race from Chester to Nottingham. Stay with us. Goodbye.